you looking for an internet talk radio station for your podcast? Look no further. At the helm of Passionate World Talk Radio are two women that want to provide a spot for you and your podcast to be heard. There are many other places for your podcast, but PWTR has the audience. You will not be disappointed. Our station has been on the internet for the past 16 years. Call us for more information. 484-364-1032 or text Jeannie White, station manager at PHECONNECTSHOW@gmail.com for podcast show details. Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain.
Hello, everybody. This is Betsy Warzol, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, entertain. The views of the guests may not represent those of the host or the station. I have two public service announcements first, folks. I cannot believe that November's flying by, but it is still National Alzheimer's Month. Those of us who have lived with it, we don't need a reminder. This is for you, the public. Please educate yourself about Alzheimer's. There is no cure. There's no treatment. No one is immune. Please educate yourself. And if you are concerned about memory problems, please consult your healthcare provider. Also, it is National Caregivers Month. I think we need to recognize caregivers every day and every month. And if you are a caregiver, God bless you. I honor you. If you were a caregiver, thank you for being a caregiver. We need to do something special for caregivers. Reach out to them. It doesn't take much. A text, hi, how you doing? How about leaving a casserole on their front porch? A lot of caregivers, they don't have time to cook. I know I didn't. Just a little, I'm thinking of you will help. It helps a lot. It means a lot to a caregiver to know that they are being thought of. And speaking of caregivers, I have with me today a wonderful guest. You're going to want to stay tuned to this podcast, folks. My guest is a caregiver, and she is an advocate. I love the work that she does. She is doing exactly what I've been saying for people to do for 6 years. Personalize this disease. Show your face. Show a name and put a name and a face to this monster disease and let people see the reality of this disease. Am I passionate? You better believe I'm passionate. I have had a lot of loss in my family due to Alzheimer's, and I will always be passionate about this monster disease, and I will tell it like it is because I'm a Jersey girl. So with me today is Daisy Vest, who's from Oklahoma. She takes care of her mom who has Alzheimer's, and she has her Days on Art, where she does her advocacy, where she does poems, and she shares people's stories. Check it out on our Facebook page. And I want to welcome Daisy Vest. Welcome, Daisy.
Well, hello. Betsy.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you are welcome. I am thrilled to have you. Oh, I don't want to forget this. Daisy Vest is nominated for the Caregiving Visionary Award. So congratulations on your nomination, Daisy.
Well, thank you. I happen to know one other person that has also been nominated for that same award. She's become a very good friend of mine, and her name is Betsy Warzol.
Oh, thank you. Excuse me.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Daisy, I just love what you do, but I want you to tell your story that you take care of your mom and how that came to be.
Okay. Well, I've been noticing for probably about 5 years that she was having some issues. So I had a feeling that she's in her 90s. she's 94 now, but I started really noticing it when she was in her 80s. And she's in excellent health, and so I wasn't used to her having issues, and started seeing anxiety and just, forgetfulness and things like that. But everything else about her was great, and she was independent, living by herself for many years. And so I had a full-time business with my husband, and so I felt like, okay, it's time to close it down. I gave myself a year to close the business, a hair salon, an art gallery, and a photography studio. So after I closed it down, I had a little bit of extra time to spend with my mom. And the more time I spent with her, the more I realized that she had progressed more than I thought. So I talked to my sisters, and together we alternated, and we visited my mom every day. I would visit her sometimes twice a day just to make sure she was getting her medication and her meals, because we realized without us she wasn't. So we were making quick plans at that point to get her moved in with us. And so I visited her every day for 4 months and was really starting to figure out what dementia was about. And my mom has not officially been diagnosed because of her age and because of COVID. We haven't been able to get all those appointments taken care of, but it was clear to me that she had dementia. So anyway, so after seeing her once and twice a day for 4 months, finally got to move her in on October the 16th, 2019, and one of my very first posters I ever created said, within 24 hours, I wanted the world to know what I did not know. I was shocked. I couldn't believe. I felt a little bit angry. I felt a little bit hurt, but I was mostly shocked because the things I saw with my mom in the first 24 hours of living with her living with me, I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my, how could I have missed all these things from seeing her every day, sometimes twice a day? So I needed an outlet. I needed to let people know what I was seeing and what I was experiencing, because, like I said, I was shocked. So in my alone time, usually early in the morning, I'd have some coffee. I started seeing pictures I'd taken, and without even really thinking about it much, I was putting writings with my pictures and just collecting them in my phone. And then I thought, people need to see these, and I started putting them on my art page. And I'm not sure how everything evolved, because it all just happened without me really thinking about it a lot. But I decided my art page doesn't need anything else on it. No more paintings, no more jewelry, which, back up a little bit, I actually emptied my art room to move my mom in. So I didn't even have access to all that stuff anymore. So I think that's another reason why I started doing digital imaging and using photography. And I've been passionate about writing since I was, it's been over 40 years. It's been my main passion in life is to write. So I started putting photography and writings together and creating digital art, started putting it on Days I Art's wall, and people started messaging me. I mean, not a whole lot of people, just a few people started messaging me. Thank you for what you're doing. I need these things you're saying. I feel so all alone, and things like that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I understand, because I don't feel like anyone really understands what I'm going through. So it just kind of compelled me to keep going. And then I started meeting more and more people, and they started talking with me behind the scenes, and I started learning a great deal. And I mean, my story just kind of shoots off so many directions. It's hard to explain how it all happened, but some of my very early posters, I sent them to the founder, Ingeborg Kampmann, of, Dementia Every Day, Dementia Awareness Every Day, and I sent them in a private message and showed her what I was doing, and she, almost before I knew it, she had them on her page, and I was amazed. I couldn't believe it. So, and then, they were getting reactions, over 1,000 reactions, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I never dreamed this would happen, because that versus just having a few people calling me, contacting me every once in a while was just what I was used to, and then to have that much visibility all of a sudden made me feel like, oh, well, if I'm going to have an audience, I'm going to keep doing this. So then my husband, he saw what I was doing with my iPhone, and he liked what I was doing and thought it was a good thing. So he surprised me with an iPad, a brand new iPad, and an Apple Pencil, and then we downloaded an art program for me. And I feel like if he hadn't done that, I don't know, I feel like it just put me in a whole different level that I would have never gone to with art and with visibility. And I'm always so grateful to him. But then when he sees me working hours and hours every week on my projects, I look at him and I say, it's your fault. You're the one that encouraged me to go this route. So anyway, and so, this is what I've been doing for 2 years now. So that's basically how I got started. So
well, that is so awesome, and it's awesome that you have a supportive husband and that, you touched a chord with people, and I can see why, because when I look at your art, I'm thinking, wow, this woman is so talented. I can't even draw a line with a pencil, but it's the words, it's how you write, that you're so talented with your wording and your art, that you're getting the message out there. And you pointed out something, Daisy, that's so important. The more I've been in groups for 7 years now, people think they're alone, but they're not alone. There's many, many, many people who feel the same way. It's just that people don't talk about it. And when they do talk about it, it's underground and private group, because people are afraid of getting judged for how they feel or what they say.
Yes.
You've seen, I've heard caregivers say, I can't tell my story. I can't let my relatives know. Well, guess what? Your relatives already do know about your loved one. If they saw your loved one, they know that something is amiss. So why not educate? And I just really like how you do it. And isn't it powerful and like almost overwhelming when people respond to you that you may not have thought would happen? I mean, I found that.
It is. It's very difficult for me to, I kind of numb myself. I mean, I know how to appreciate myself, but I'm not good at receiving appreciation for what other people are taking it or accepting it. So sometimes I think I miss saying thank you to people because I'm kind of stunned with the feeling of how much they express that they appreciate something. So I kind of draw a blank or feel numb about it, which is crazy. I mean, I'm trying to get better at that. But yes, it amazes me that I've made a connection, and sometimes when they explain to me what the connection is, it just blows my mind. I'm like, wow, that's just amazing, because I never would have thought of that situation or issue when I created this. So you never know. So
that's true. That's so true. When I went into my car to do videos to show Matt's picture, and to say, this is the new face of Alzheimer's. It is not an old person's disease. This is the new face. And that you could get it. And then I went to caregiving tips. I never thought that anyone would listen to me. I really didn't. And, you know, you just don't know. You don't know who's reading, who's listening, who's watching. And I know when I was getting responses, I would cry, not cry out of sadness, but cry because I couldn't believe that people were listening and, you know, liked what I had to say. And you're probably experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, it feels a little profound and strange. But can I make a confession?
Sure. In my midnight confession.
all the, you know, the support
I won't sing.
groups that well, before my mom moved in, I have a daughter that lives 4 doors down from me, and she is a geriatrics technician. She went to school for that, and of course she was a CNA real young. So I talked about Alzheimer's and dementia with her from time to time. She worked for Life Senior Services, and it was her responsibility to counsel with families to help get them on the path to know what to expect in the journey. She was very in tune with all that and loved it. And then her life took a different direction, and she got a job that she couldn't turn down and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, she informed me that when she found out for sure that Mom was moving in, she said, you need to get in some support groups. You need to start learning all you can. And so I'm like, okay, I'll hop on Facebook and I'll start finding some. Well, I found about 4 or 5, and I'll never forget this because I got on there and started reading what was going on in these private groups about people and their loved ones. And all I could think, and of course this was before my mom moved in, so I didn't know what to expect. Well, I started reading, and I'm like, what is wrong with these people? They're kind of hateful, and they're, oh my gosh, they're kind of mean, and they're impatient, and I just thought, why am I just reading about all these mean, hateful people? Well, I told my daughter, I can't take it. I can't get on in these private pages and read what is wrong with them. Well, you know, I tried it again, and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, this is just so sad and pathetic. Well, right after my mom moved in, it didn't take much for me to get it. It clicked. I'm like, and these people are dealing with things, and I've put it in my posters, they're dealing with things and overcoming things every day that most of the world don't even know exist. And I didn't understand that. And now when I go into all the groups that I'm in now, I have nothing but compassion and empathy and understanding, and it's heartbreaking. And so that was another eye-opener for me, you know, to understand their perspective. But it took my mom moving in. And my mom is, I keep saying this, you know, she's 94, and her doctor said her health is off the charts. It's amazing, except for the dementia. But with the issues I see with her, I would say that compared to other issues that people have, you know, they're like times 10. I mean, my mom is probably the most easygoing dementia person I've ever heard of. So I'm so very fortunate. But it is not at all hard for me, since I read all the situations and talk with a lot of people in private message. They want me to know what's going on, and they want me to help get the word out and things like that. You know, I understand how extreme, and I'll just say it, Betsy, I think your situation with Matt was very extreme. I mean, I don't know how you did it. It breaks my heart when I see the videos, and you're amazing. And the thing is, I think what you're doing and what you're showing me through your advocacy is that since I've made friends with you, I see everything in your journey a lot more than other people's. But, man, is it a reminder. It's a reminder to me, and it just continues to compel me to tell the world. And I want to thank you from one caregiver to another, even though I still feel like a novice. I just think you're amazing, and I appreciate it. everything you've been
well,
through.
Thank you. Thank you, Daisy.
Anyway,
I'm going to start crying.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I always felt that if I show my story, which I wanted to show Matt, and all the good, bad, and ugly, and hopefully it will inspire other people to share their journey and to, just personalize this disease. We need to personalize it. And it's like, why are we afraid to? I say this all the time. People with cancer, they were not afraid to show themselves or their journey. People with AIDS, they weren't afraid. This is how they got their lobbies. This is how they got their power. And I know caregivers are exhausted. And everyone, is different in their journey. And I tell people, you don't have to have a big mouth like me. But even if you post on your own personal page and show your loved one with dignity, do it with dignity. But people are they're afraid to. And as you know, Daisy, I have a group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement, that I created so people would not walk their journey alone during this journey or after, because I didn't have support until 2014 when I went on Facebook, and I went crazy joining support groups. I went literally crazy joining groups, and then, of course, I weeded it out. And when I joined the groups, Days, I was thinking, I'm not alone. There's people out there that have it worse. There's people that have it better, but I'm not alone. And I gained so much. I learned so much from other caregivers, and this is why I've been beating the drum. Share your experiences, share your stories. It's to help yourself. When you're helping other people, you're helping yourself, but it's to help other people. And, this may sound harsh, but I feel when we withhold information, that's being selfish. And we need to share. We need to share our stories to help other people. It's so important. And our mutual friend, Marcia Burr, she's been singing that for years.
Yep, she's become my twin sister. She's a hoot, and I love her writing. Her writing, it just melts my heart, and it just keeps me in that writing mode. It inspires me as a writer too, and then she puts it with all those visuals, which is what I do, except mine are like still photo type. But anyway, I've learned a lot from her stories and her posts, and I can't even imagine. I'm very fortunate compared to most I know. So, but
she's phenomenal.
That's why it's been important to me. I'll just have to say this. I'm involved with a whole family of people. They've all just bonded, and they all have Lewy body dementia, and I just connected with them because Curry Wisenhunt. I don't know if you knew this, but he used to live 30 minutes away from me. And when I saw him on Facebook talking about having dementia, all I could think is, oh, you're 30 minutes away. I want to come visit you when my husband and I do our Sunday outing, and get to know you better. And because he was living in the town where my husband's family's from. So, there's a lot of history there with my husband's family, and a lake that we go to all the time. So I thought, on a Sunday drive, I want to come see you. And then all of a sudden, he messaged me back, and he tells me, oh, I live in Texas now. And I was like, I finally can meet someone in person. And he moved away. So anyway, but I stayed very connected to him on Facebook, and long story short, the whole group, his Facebook page, Our Journey with Lewy Body Dementia, they have just accepted me with open arms, and they invited me to their Zoom meetings. And so I picked a Friday Zoom meeting, and I joined them for about 5 of those meetings, and that took me to a whole nother level of understanding and opening my eyes. And you know, I'm the only one. I mean, there's other caregivers, but they're caregiving for someone with Lewy body dementia. And so, you know, the way I described it, I go in those Zoom meetings, and I'm like a fly on the wall. I don't feel worthy enough to even contribute much because I don't have dementia. And Lewy body dementia was kind of new to me. I wasn't real familiar with it, but it's very intense for me to sit in their Zoom meeting. And I just want to sit there and cry, and I have. I've cried a time or two, and just kind of taking mental notes. I kind of take notes. I don't sit, I mean, I meant to type them all up, but it's more like what I'm feeling, what I'm drawing from them. And then I go and make posters with it. And sometimes I ask if I can quote them. But to be in Zoom meetings with people with dementia, that just took me to a whole nother level. And being that I create visibility as an advocate for dementia, it was a very good connection for me. So I'm very grateful that I got to have that opportunity. So, and I can still, I'm always welcome anytime. So anyway, that was good to be invited to be a part of that, so I could listen to them. And I mean, I learned things I could have never learned if I hadn't been in the meetings, like how they deal with their doctors and their families, and the reactions to medications, and just their daily lives. And I mean, I gathered such a wealth of understanding that I would have never gotten. So, and I have poured it into posters, many posters. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that they just, you know, they hardly knew me. So anyway, but that's been a good thing.
That's awesome. That really is, because you get to hear from people who are dealing with it, you know, firsthand. And I am so glad to see, like, you know, Marsha Burr always talks about ripples, right? We don't know what our work, the ripples, but all these connections, and it just keeps going and going. And I think it's great. And I'm really happy to see. This has been a vision, so I'm happy to see it. People with dementia talking. They're advocating. They're talking. They're talking about what they're going through, and we need to hear that. We need to learn from them. And the Lewy body, you don't really hear a whole lot about it. So that's a great way for someone to get educated. And I feel that now in this day and age, with all the webinars and seminars going on the internet, there's no reason for anyone not to be educated. Caregivers need to educate themselves. People, I say it all the time, educate yourself ahead of time. You never know when Alzheimer's or some other dementia is going to be knocking on your door. Right. And, you know, caregiving, as you know, Daisy, it changes your life, but it could change your life for the better if you let that happen.
Yes, I know. I have 5 other siblings, and even the ones, you know, that come regularly and visit, and I almost feel like they're getting cheated out of something that I'm going to cherish forever after, you know, once my mom is gone. And I don't even know how to explain that to them. I don't really try, but it's something that I know, and my husband understands it too. So, and you know, there's this other mutual friend that we have, and that's Alex Milne out of Scotland, the race car driver that has a racing team. We just discovered each other because of a poster I had made. I don't even remember which one it was, but he commented on my poster, and then he also said, I'm going to private message you. Well, long story short, he became like my very first person that I could go to and ask questions. He became like a mentor to me, and together we created a lot of posters. And he is a former caregiver for his wife, and he shed some light on some things that I really needed and didn't realize, and one of them was, and I made a poster, but he helped me for the first time to see that even though I take care of my mom, my husband has to oversee my well-being and my mother's well-being. He told me that, and I'm like, I almost felt like crying, like, oh, my gosh, how have I been neglecting my husband after this time? I mean, it was his idea to move her in, and that was amazing to me, and he meant it. He doesn't say things like that without having his whole heart in it. So, but that opened my eyes to help me realize I gotta make sure that he's on the up and up, and that I'm not just, caring and burning out, and him just watching me disappear. So that was an amazing thing for me to understand, and that was early on when I first started talking with Alex, and I realized this man, he's been through hell to know the things that he knows, and I was very fortunate to cross his path. And then he introduced me to racing. Race Against Dementia. The Formula One race car founder, and who ended up connecting to me. They took an interest in me, wanted to share my story. So my story can easily be read with a link on their website, and it's pinned on my Days I Art wall. So anyway, all these connections, we're just growing. We're growing. And one thing I told my husband in January when the new year started, I said, I want to gather an army. I want to gather an army this year. I'm going to just find all the people I can find, and I'm going to take them wherever I can. And we're going to be strong together.
That's right.
And, yeah, so I created a whole bunch of posters about the Army, about the battle. And anyway, it was pretty profound. Actually, the people were coming to me. It was happening. And so that was, when I think of things, it hits me really hard sometimes. But then I'm like, but where is it going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to start? And almost every time when something hits me, I just kind of let it evolve, and it turns into something I didn't even really imagine. So as long as I have this season going on in my life, I'm going to keep going with it.
Yes, you did a great job. And it is a battle. I feel this way, Daisy. We're in the trenches. Those that are caregivers, we're fighting for our survival as we are caregiving, make sure that we stay intact and healthy and sane. And I feel that we're forever bonded. Like people that I met in groups, we share a sisterhood, a brotherhood that we never intended on sharing, but we're bonded forever. Just like people who go through a war together, they're forever bonded. And I feel like people who are caregivers are forever bonded because we went through a war together. It is a war, folks. I'm going to say it like it is. I always have.
It is. Yeah.
I've always been up front.
A book. I read a book, Norms. From the Purple Angel founder. I'm just so used to calling them Norms, but he wrote a book called The Lewy Body Soldier, and it was one of the first books I read at the beginning of the year, and that spun a lot of posters for me about the Army and the battle and how to be prepared and how to have your armor ready. And that book is kind of, I didn't even know about the book whenever I had told my husband, I want to gather an army. So here I am working on this book about the battle of Lewy body dementia and the soldier, and so that played into it all. And so yeah. And speaking of Norm McNamara, he's the founder of Purple Angel, and I had heard of Purple Angel, but somewhere in a comment on one of my posters, he just came right out and asked me if I wanted to be a Purple Angel ambassador. Well, it's in my mind, I'm like you. I'm like, hey, if that can further me to get more visibility, I'll go for it. I'll do it. So I looked into it. They did some emails with me and explained everything. I read a lot of information, and I'm like, well, okay, here's what I was part of my responsibility to become an ambassador was to explain, what do you want to offer, and you're going to get global visibility with whatever you do. So, and I told them exactly, I laid it out exactly what I thought I could do for them, and it's amazing every time I look back at it, what I originally had said to them or think about it, I'm doing exactly what I thought I was going to be doing, and it's quite an honor to have become global on the level that Purple Angel has taken me. So another step, another thing that just kind of happened that just worked out so well for me. So I don't know.
That is so fascinating, isn't it? I mean, it is.
It is.
It's just like you don't know where you're going to go, but I can tell you this, Daisy, you better buckle up because you're going to be flying high, girl. You're going to be, this is just the beginning.
Well, I have to tell you the name of my business. I loved my business. Oh, my gosh. Every day I'd go to work in my hair salon. I didn't like standing on my feet all day, but the art gallery was amazing, and it brought in its crew of people, and then the studio was fun for my husband when he came on board, and then my clients, I'd had some of my clients for 20 years, so they were all my friends. It was just every day was just an amazing day to go to work. So, but the name of my business was Passion by Design, and it worked for me. I felt like I was born passionate. When I had my grand opening, I wrote a speech, and it explained how I felt passionate already at the age of 7, and explained why. And so Passion by Design, being a hairstylist in a salon, it was perfect. And my husband created the logo for me, and because I wasn't doing any kind of digital art or anything back then. So he created a beautiful logo that became a big sign. And I just think it's so cool that I'm doing my first radio interview with a radio station called Passion, how is it worded? Passion. I know the word passion.
Passionate. Yeah, Passionate World Talk Radio Network.
There you go. And I've laughed about it with my husband, different ones that I'm in my life, and said, well, this is going to be the first radio interview I've ever done, and they're passionate. It's a passionate radio station, so it suits me so well. So anyway.
Yes, and created by a woman, and run by women, and there's mostly all women hosts. I think there's two men, but yeah, Lillian Caldwell, CEO, had a vision, and she was way ahead of her time.
Okay, yep, I've read some about her, and then there's Jeannie
White, station manager, who discovered me.
Yes.
So I told Jeannie, she stuck with me.
Well,
she
pretty awesome.
Was yeah, it was, I remember telling Matt, I said, Matt, I can't promise not to place you, but I can promise you I'm going to tell your story to the world. Don't know how, but I'm going to do it. And a year later, Jeannie White discovered me. She went on Facebook, and my video popped up in my car, and that's where this all started. And she called me about an interview, and then asked me to speak on her show because she had a show. And then, she gave me my show, which was, I still have to pinch myself. But it's, you just don't know where anything leads to.
Ask you. Mm-hmm. I have to ask you, when you would go and get in your car and talk, and make a video. Was that so you could take a break? Or you needed an outlet, or what started that? I've always wondered. What started you going to your car?
Oh, I was angry. I was mad, and I needed an outlet. I needed to use my anger in a positive way because I was mad how Matt and I were treated from the medical community. I just loved how they blamed the person with dementia, that they can't do the test because they're not trying hard enough, and the doctor's not believing that Matt could have Alzheimer's at a young age. He was 56. And so I had to go in my car so Matt and Josh wouldn't disturb me. So I had to just say what was on my mind, and I really didn't care what people thought. I just had to do it. And that's never thought that I would have a podcast. I didn't even know what a podcast was 3 years ago. I didn't have a clue.
Honestly, I mean, even though I do digital work, I'm not real computer savvy. I'm not real, I'm technically challenged myself, but people assume I'm not, but I am. Of course, my husband knows. He knows everything.
I'm challenged.
Helps me a lot.
Tech challenge. I have to get back, Daisy, to you and Bob.
Okay.
Bob is hug that man for me. Hug Bob for me. There's a lot of marriages that get destroyed by caregiving, and I highly recommend taking time for you and Bob, going for marriage counseling if you guys need it. And I know you support each other. I think the problem is when someone is not supportive. And I know in my case, when Matt's mom had dementia, she had Alzheimer's, and we lived with her, I was the one that wanted his mom to go to the doctor and get help, but I had a fight with Matt to take his mom to the doctor. So, and then as his mom progressed, Matt didn't want to realize that. So it was this fighting back and forth that really took a toll on our marriage. And I'm not, ashamed to say that because that's part of my story. So if I could give any advice, that's to, work together, not just to you, but to the folks out listening, work together as a team. Do not make each other the enemy. You're not the enemy. Alzheimer's or whatever dementia you have is the enemy. And just work together as a team. And if you had to go for counseling, go. There's no shame in that. Doesn't mean your marriage is falling apart. It means you need help. Just, sorting things out.
I think our personal biggest challenge in our relationship is that our life is, we were empty nesters for 17, 18 years. And so, we did trips all over the country, bike rides, boats. We cruises. We knew what it was like, and we're glad we have the memories. But when you get kind of slammed into your home and you kind of have to stay there, you can't leave without asking someone's permission or someone to help, come stay with mom. After a while, it starts making you feel like, a real recent poster I made was how you lose your spontaneity, your sense of adventure. And so we kind of walk around like zombies a lot of time. We're just kind of numb because, and that's still something I haven't completely explained in a poster. I have to put everything in a poster to get my point. Honestly, I'm not very articulate, but when it comes to visual things and writing, that's where I can nutshell something and make a point. But that's been the hard part. I think is just that we kind of feel numb, so we don't feel feelings for each other real strong, even though our love is strong. We know that. We're confident in that. It's just, you just don't have you just kind of keep your emotions calm, kind of suppressed a little maybe. But, we are looking forward to when we can come up with some kind of a little trip or something to do. We want to do that, so I think it'd be good for us, even if we can just be away for one night somewhere. Just go visit a cool town
respite.
nearby. And
yeah, look into respite. That's important, and communication is important in a marriage, a relationship, partnership, for both sides to communicate. And I know it's a little difficult for men to communicate different than women do. But it's very important to communicate what's going on and, how you both are feeling, and to even have, daily meetings if you have to. Just say, this is how I feel. How do you feel about it? I'd be more than happy to be a mentor to you, Daisy.
You already are. Are you kidding me?
Oh, thank you.
You are.
It is difficult, and I said this, Daisy, long before COVID happened. Caregivers feel isolated. Caregivers are abandoned, and even after COVID restrictions are over, and if the world ever gets back to so-called normal, the caregiver doesn't. The caregiver is still isolated and still abandoned. And we have to remember the caregivers and giving them a break.
I have to say this. I mean, my husband probably wouldn't agree. I neglect them a lot, but we kind of neglect each other. But I am truly grateful and appreciative that I have him. I mean, I try to think about what it would be like if I was all alone, because I know so many people who are caregivers that are alone, and I don't know how they do it. And anyway, so I am grateful that it was my husband's idea to move my mom in, and I'm so grateful for that. So, I mean, neither of us knew what we were really getting into, but, like a lot of our teachers and instructors that know a lot about Alzheimer's and dementia, that's what they try to get people prepared, because there's a lot to prepare for. So more than
you never know. When we moved in with my mother-in-law, we didn't know she already had dementia. Because, visiting Mom, we didn't see that. But when we lived with her, then we saw that, and my mother-in-law would say, Betsy, I'm getting like my mom, because her mom had Alzheimer's. It wasn't called Alzheimer's back then. So I worked as a licensed practical nurse. I never heard the word Alzheimer's, never. It was called different things back then. And so I say that my mom-in-law took me to Alzheimer's school. And back 22 years ago, there wasn't much information back then. There wasn't the support groups like there are now. There wasn't any. Did I handle her hallucinations? Well, no, not at all, I'm ashamed to say, but I didn't know any better at the time. I did not handle her hallucinations well at all. But when Mac started to hallucinate, I was well seasoned, unfortunately. But it helped me because I was able to handle Matt's hallucinations properly. That's because I educated myself, and I was experienced, and then listening to caregivers and other people who have the knowledge. I mean, there's so many people doing webinars and seminars on the internet, Facebook. I mean, there's just a lot. There's a lot.
It overwhelms
going on.
me. I get invited to things all the time, and it's overwhelming. It's amazing. So.
Yeah. Well, you are a force, Daisy, and I'm honored that you came on my show and shared what you're doing, your story, and you're going to go far. I could just picture you ending up on one of those TV shows. Getting interviewed, and I just think that you are amazing. What you're doing is amazing, and I tell people, whatever dementia your loved one has, you have a choice, and it's a mindset. You can either learn from this experience, be a better person, or it can make you bitter. That's your choice. I chose to be a better person. Not always, it took me midway through Matt's progression, but I learned a lot. I learned so much, and when Marcia Burr, I tell her this all the time, when she talked about the happy place with her and Dana, I would say to myself, this woman's nuts. And I said to Marcia, what do you mean happy place? This is, how can I be happy? Yeah. But I had to learn for myself. And this is what each caregiver has to learn for themselves, their happy place and what their purpose is. And folks, find a purpose. And I say live in the moment, but also think about your future, what you're going to do for life after caregiving, because you have a right to enjoy life after caregiving. So that's what
people ask me.
Go ahead.
Well, people ask me about that more and more. They're saying, are you going to still do this after your mom is gone? And in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I don't think I could ever stop doing this. I don't think I'll stop. And then I started becoming a little more knowledgeable about some things and aware of some things. And so now my new answer is, you know what? Let me ask my husband what he wants me to do, because he needs a break. I mean, he at least deserves and needs a huge break. So, and then after he's feeling like our lives are back together again, back like we've known it to be. And I mean, my husband's the one who's always said, I don't want to just have a good marriage. I want to have a happy marriage. I always quote my husband on that. That's always impressed me, that's always been his goal. It's a high standard. But that's the man I married. We've been together 45 years now, and so
wow.
I mean, a lot of the advocates I know that are on fire and like you. I mean, you don't have a spouse, so I mean you're more free, I guess. But we'll see. I would at least not want to answer people anymore without knowing if having my husband on board with me. So, but I know him. He I think he'll feel like if you can keep helping people, then you just keep going. That's what I think he's going to feel when the time comes. So he's like that. But I just know he's
what, Daisy? I can tell you this. It's okay to take a break, if your caregiving journey is over. It's okay to take a break for a while, step away for a while. You'll have a lot of things to do and get yourself together, and you can come back. I felt that I know a lot of caregivers, they walked away, and I get it. I understand it. It's in my blood, and I can't stop.
I can tell.
And I promised, I made a promise to Matt that I would continue on.
Yeah. I think about a lot, like what you went through with Matt. I often wonder what it would have been like if it was me and Bob, if I was going through with Bob what you went through with Matt. And I think I would do just like what you're doing because it's a healing. It's like everyone you're helping, everyone you can help, it probably brings you some kind of closure and healing. I mean, that's how I've imagined it. So anyway, I kind of understand why you're so compelled, just from trying to imagine what it would have been like for me being in your shoes.
I tell Matt, I talk to Matt as if he's still here, because to me he is. And I tell Matt, your life has touched many people all over the world. And Matt used to say to me when I would, this is so funny, when I was on Jeannie White's show, and I'd say, okay, Matt, I'm going to be talking to Jeannie. Are you going to be good? Yeah, I'm going to be good. As soon as Jeannie would start recording, Matt would go, he would yell, stop talking about me. And I never knew if he was going to curse out loud. I never knew that. But it was kind of funny. And then he would say to me after it's over, you're doing a good thing, Booby. I'm proud of you, Booby, because he called me Booby instead of Betsy for some reason. But he knew that I was his Booby. And, this is really my way of, paying it forward. I wish I knew about resources when Matt was alive. And so that's my mission this is why I have a podcast, is to help people, give them resources that I wish I knew about. And even though a lot of my shows may not be specifically caregiving, I think it's something that everyone can use, whether you're a caregiver or not. A great guest with great information that I think are phenomenal, but I'm tooting my own horn here. But my guests are fantastic.
Well, you remember that you just said that to me, because I'm going to be posting a poster today that's very much along that lines. So you're doing fine. Trust me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Daisy. Thanks for Thank you. You're a sweetheart. Thank you for coming on. Give Bob a hug for me and your mom. God bless her. 94. My mom is 91.
Wow.
And she's pretty healthy. And,
awesome.
Folks, you can be healthy. Matt was healthy. He was healthy except for his brain. You can be diagnosed, at any age. I think that's why Matt lived long. He lived 10 years, well, probably longer because he probably had it 2 years prior to diagnosis, was because he didn't have any underlying diseases.
I see.
So I think that's why he lived long.
I just met Sean. You know Sean. Well, he was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's at age 50 3 years ago, and I am hoping to open some eyes with him. We've created a few posters, and we've got several more we're working on. So, because that's starting to touch on my kids' ages soon. So, yeah, we got a lot of eyes to open that are a couple generations behind us, or a generation behind us in age. So Sean's helping me with that. I'm pretty excited about
good.
that.
Oh, that's good. I wished Matt was verbal and what he was going through, but he wasn't, except to say that, he hated Alzheimer's. He hated how he felt with it and what he was, emotionally going through, but he would never, talk about it on the radio or anything. He was not vocal like me, but I was vocal for him. So, but I want to thank you, Daisy Vest, for coming on, and best wishes to you in your future. I'd love to have you on again, and an update as to what's going on with you. And, I want to thank all the caregivers out there who are doing the job every day, personal and professional. And if you have a professional caregiver in your life, someone who goes above and beyond to help your loved one, throw them a gift card. Do something special for them. And it helps. Like when my mom-in-law was in the facility, I used to bring trays of cookies for each shift. My mom, when my dad was in the facility, she would give gift cards out to certain people, and she would bring, cookies in. I say for each shift because I did work in a hospital, shift work, and there was nothing left by the time I worked 11 to 7. So if you can, remember each shift. And I just want to say thank you for listening. Please share this podcast to help other people. If you missed any of this podcast, you can hear it again wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. I'm on Castbox, Spreaker, Spotify, just to name some. It is free to subscribe to Chatting with Betsy. So please subscribe, because you never know who I will have on my show. And I'm going to have some my guests are always phenomenal. So I learn from each and every one of them. I really do. And I just want to say educate. I can't say it enough. Educate yourself about Alzheimer's and other dementias. And we need to hear from people who have dementia. We need to hear what you're going through. I wish my husband was vocal, but he wasn't. But he hated how he was, and he felt worthless. And Josh and I loved him. We encouraged him, and we said we will just love you through it. So that's what we did. And just love up on your loved one if you are a caregiver. And, you know, I could say this from my own personal experience. One of the feelings of being a caregiver is helplessness. We feel helpless because we can't control this disease. The only thing we can't control is how we react to it. Just love up on your loved one. Your loved one can hear you, even if they can't talk. They can hear you. Even if they are dying, they can hear you. And I truly believe God gave hearing the last sense to go so we could hear our loved ones speak to us. Keep speaking to your loved one no matter what their condition is. Tell them that you love them. And, folks, I've said this for years, and I will keep on saying it. Dementia robs the brain. Dementia cannot rob the heart of love. I truly believe that. They know your love. They feel it. It's a deep soul connection, and I believe that. I believed it when Matt was alive. I believed when he was dying, and I still believe it now, and I always will. So that's my advice. And have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone, although this will be posted after Thanksgiving, and a happy holiday season. And if you can't have a happy one, then I wish you a peaceful one. How's that? A peaceful one if you can't have a happy one. So take care, and remember, folks, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. This is Betsy Warzol, your host of Chatting with Betsy, a Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Oh, and I forgot. Thank you to Jeannie White, station manager, for writing the blog, producing the show. And thank you to Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio Network, for making all this possible. So we chat again. Bye, everyone.
Are you looking for an internet talk radio station for your podcast? Look no further. At the helm of Passionate World Talk Radio are two women that want to provide a spot for you and your podcast to be heard. There are many other places for your podcast, but PWTR has the audience. You will not be disappointed. Our station has been on the internet for the past 16 years. Call us for more information. 484-364-1032 or text Jeannie White, station manager, at PHECONNECTSHOW@gmail.com for podcast show details. Thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You can listen to this program all over again by going over to https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear it on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Alexa, AMFM247.com every Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and all the other podcast directories one can find on the Internet.